Hello, everybody. Oh, welcome back to another show with High Vibes Up. And it is truly amazing to be able to, spend time with the family like this. And it's awesome to be able to have Dylan Monroe, the MapMaker, with us again. And we're going to be talking about some spiritual healing. But before we get into that, I want to thank every single one of you for being part of our family, being part of our tribe, for finding your vibe. Because finding your vibe is where you're going to really find who you truly are and the connections and the love and the family that, you never thought that you would ever have. Just because you have family, blood family, doesn't mean that you can't have family that is outside of that so-called blood family. And this is what all of this is all about, is finding that connection, finding that love, and it's truly amazing. So Dylan, how are you doing?
I'm doing a lot better. I've actually had a cold the past week, and I just pretty much today feel completely over it. So I'm really glad to be back. I just did my first run that in the past 2 weeks, which that really breaks it up and gets it moving. That was my first cold in almost 3 years. So I don't think it was COVID. It just felt like your average flu. And this was coming off of Victory of Light Expo the week before Thanksgiving, which is a lot of people and a lot of energy. And sometimes even the spiritual upgrades from that can trigger like an immune system response sometimes. But it was a lot of family over Thanksgiving as well. And they're not quite as consciously aware as your family, I'm sure, with you and Candy. And so for me, it's a little bit like having to keep my mouth shut for a week and just listen to all these normie conversations go back and forth. And so I am really grateful to have you guys as part of my, spiritual High Vibes Up family, and to be able to have an open dialogue that's of a elevated level here.
Us
Yes,
too.
same here.
Yeah.
Same here. Oh my goodness gracious. It is
Yeah, it
awesome.
was overdose on Normie over Thanksgiving. And I've tried to teach my family over the years. Like, we even have the posters up around the house, but they show a little bit of interest if they haven't seen them before, some of the new people that showed up, but in general, I'm not getting through to them. And so that's what we have the spiritual family for. And we're going to do some spiritual healing today, hopefully, because it's so important to be able to express yourself and express your ideas and not have all your research and things that you've researched to try to help humanity and ideas to try to help humanity just bottled up. It's really important to let those out and speak them to the world, even if it isn't a chat or on a Zoom, if you can't find the audience in real life. But even this expo I did, Victory of Light, it seemed that, I would hope the Great Awakening was always building, always getting bigger. And I think in a way it is. But what I noticed at this expo was that there was a little bit lower attendance than even last spring. And I think it had something to do with the weather. It happened to drop down into like the teens that weekend in Cincinnati, which that really keeps people inside. And just, I think the economy in general as well makes people not want to spend as much, in gas prices. People aren't going to drive as far to come to an expo as they would if they had, cheaper gas. So it was a little bit less of a turnout at Victory of Light as I expected, but nevertheless made some really solid and profound connections. And I actually set up an ascension chamber in my booth, which was a Nubian-shaped pyramid, which I actually had to construct from Home Depot supplies because the one from Amazon didn't show up in time. But it turned out really good, and I had recorded a 3-minute meditation that people were doing in the pyramid to try to upgrade them and take them to the next level spiritually. And one girl left the pyramid, and I could see tear in her eye, and I was like, "Oh my God!" Like, I didn't mean to make you cry, but that means it was a good meditation, right?
It really was. Oh my God, that's amazing. That is truly amazing. I was just going to ask you about the expo too. Like, and that was this last weekend, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. And I recorded my speech and posted that on Rumble on my channel, New Templars, like last Friday. And I'm also planning to create a video of that 3-minute meditation so that you can pretend that you're in the Ascension Pyramid. And the actual copper pyramid from India just came yesterday from Amazon, so missed it by about a week and a half. But I'm going to build it for myself now, and so I'm very excited to see what kind of experiences I'll have with using that myself at home. And hopefully in the summer, I'll be able to have it outside and move it around. So I'm really excited to have that now in my spectrum of spiritual objects that can enhance meditation and psychic awareness.
I would like to see what that looks like. We don't have
Well,
one of those, and I've been like thinking about that for some time about getting one.
I think you making your own was actually better because when you make it yourself, you're putting your own energy, your own intuition, your own intention into
His own love.
exactly into it instead of having somebody else make it for you and have their intention instead. So that worked out perfect for you.
it might have. Yeah, I ended up, getting 4 poles and tying them together with leather at the top, and it ended up looking a little bit more like a teepee than a pyramid. But hey, it gets the job done. And the whole idea was that I had this energy map, which you guys know my energy map, the round one with all the colors about all the different energy types and technologies throughout all space and time. I had a copy of this that I had printed on vinyl, which was a little bit more durable. And it's a 40-inch one that I meant to frame, but the printing didn't exactly turn out right. So I decided to use that one as the base of this ascension chamber. So essentially, we had the energy map on the ground that you sat on a little cushion, and then the copper pyramid above it. And it was a lot of energy in this booth. We had the 8-foot energy map as the main backdrop of the booth. And so it was just, every time I build a new booth, it's different. I never do the same booth twice. And this one was integrating like the big energy backdrop, the pyramid, some of my tapestries on either side. So you were basically in a chamber contained within like Q webs, Jasara maps, healing webs, energy maps. It was like a big vortex happening in there. So I think people really were either super drawn to the energy and felt it was super enlightening, or for a lot of people, I realize, and I've realized this before, but there's so much energy and information in my booth when I pull together all these different resources and displays that it becomes invisible to people, because if they don't immediately resonate with like a single term on a diagram that they're looking at, they'll just say, whoosh, let's just don't even see it. A lot of people are there just to speak to different psychics and whatnot. It is a psychic expo, Victory of Light. And it's crazy that a lot of people, the booth just becomes literally like an invisible cloak because it's too much light, it's too much information. And, I wish we could reach those people, but I'm not sure if we're invisible, what are we supposed to do? Like transcend dimensions and come like pull them in. But I'm not a pushy salesman in that sense. If someone wants to just look, I don't necessarily jump in and start trying to explain. Like I wait till there's a question, which maybe that's not the best salesperson tactic, but that's just how I am as an artist. I let the work speak for itself for the most part.
I actually appreciate that.
Same here.
Oh, when I go into booths, the thing that like, I don't know if you call it a trigger anymore because I've dealt with it, but it's you just get in there and someone comes over and starts bombarding you with all of this information. It's like, wait a minute. When I have a question, I'll ask or raise my hand. And so I appreciate that. And that to me says that you have ascended to such a frequency that you understand that kind of energy. And when you're watching a person, you look for the energy of when to approach. That says a lot.
Even just going up to somebody and saying, hey, how are you doing? If you have any questions, just let me know. I'm going to be standing over here type stuff. That's fine too. But the way that you handled it was just perfect. It was perfect by all means, because you allowed that person to open up and be the person that they needed to be instead of forcing something upon them and trying to force something to awaken when you can't force anything to awaken, really. So you did it perfectly, is what in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's always great when certain people, I see them looking at the map for a while, and then they kind of lean in. They're like, are you my soul family? And I'm like, probably. If you've been looking at the map for that long and you're seeing stuff that resonates or that you recognize, then yeah, we're probably soul family at some level. And the more you explore in here, the more you may find things that you'll be interested in because we explore so many different topics from the healing to the financial. The one thing that surprised me a little bit from this expo was that the Jasara seemed to really go over people's heads. There was a couple people that fully understood and walked in and was like, yes, like this is awesome that you're, educating people on the new financial system that's coming. But for the most part, I don't think too many people understood what this was about. And so it really actually made me realize even more how much we are on the cutting edge of, being a XRP or XLM investor at this point, and knowing that there is this plan that may very likely be coming. And actually, as further confirmation of this plan, you see at the bottom right here, has always been, it says a new golden age for Earth. And after, let's see, we got to use our words very carefully here. After the maestro's big announcement on November 15th, he made two references to America's golden age, which is just ahead. And for me, that was a direct confirmation and a calm referencing what we call Jasara here. And, whether we call it Jasara or whether it just is a golden age with some other name for the financial system. I mean, I think the quantum financial system is unavoidable because that's the future of technology is quantum computers. But whether it's actually an act called Jasara or Nasara is pretty much irrelevant to me. If we enter into a golden era style economy, that's what we all are hoping for. And, the result will be what we want, whether it's called Jasara or not. And so I made a video about that November 15th announcement, and it went pretty viral for me. It was my first solo video that hit 30,000 views. So wow. I thought that was pretty cool, and got good comments on it as well. I think people pretty much understood my explanation of the comms that were embedded in that November 15th announcement. And so it's just so funny because I was actually kidding before that announcement. Ever since I was at the Dayton rally the night before the midterm E, and the maestro said that he was going to be making an announcement on the 15th. Mm-hmm. I had been kidding on my Telegram, like, oh, he's going to announce Jasara. And, I was hoping for it, but I didn't actually think that he would make these direct references to the golden age, which are so much in line with the whole Jasara theory.
Right.
And so I was very pleased with that announcement and excited. I mean, I did take from that we have a solid 2-year wait time before this really gets going. And I think in that 2-year wait time, we're going to see a lot of these elements of what we call the crash of the financial system and other systems in society. And, hopefully we can all be prepared, both in terms of food, in terms of energy, in terms of basic survival needs, but also in terms of spiritually expecting these things so that when they come, we don't have a panic attack. And so that's going to be really important to get through these next 2 years. And of course, the timetable could be accelerated in some way. There could be some unforeseen black swan event that delivers us something that looks like Jasara sooner than that. But in general, from the maestro, I would say batten down the hatches for 2 years and don't be expecting things like every month the way we have been. A lot of people were expecting big developments before the end of October, which did not seem to materialize the way that they were, I won't say promised to us, but projected by certain people in the alt media. And so a lot of people have been disappointed and just saying, this isn't going anywhere. But I think it is actually going somewhere. It's just at a pace that is not up to what us as the awakened class would like to see. But we got a lot of people, a lot of normies still that still need a lot of education. And so that's our job for these next 2 years, is to do as much education and bringing people up to speed and giving people the opportunity to awaken as we possibly can. Because A lot of this does have to be grassroots. They're not going to be awakened through the mainstream media. And so it's channels like yours and mine and the others of us in the alt media community that I would say carry the bulk of the weight of this awakening process. But it's also all the individuals out there, everyone watching this, to be more vocal in your social media presence, in your personal life, and come out of the closet of knowing this higher level information and educating people around you is what we really need here.
Yeah, I've been learning that assumptions and expectations are dangerous and deadly. Because every time that you go in with assumptions or every time you go in with expectations, it never turns out the way that you think it's going to turn out. And then everything just falls even deeper from there. But when you go in actually feeling the energies, seeing what the energies are and just allowing it to happen, that's when everything just, starts falling into place because no expectations. And if it doesn't happen the way that thought it was going to happen. Remember, thinking being is an obedient being, and when you're an obedient being, well, you're following the same footsteps that everybody else is, but when you get out of that thinking mode, you're then that free being. And that's what keeps us allowing us to be who we need to be. It's truly amazing.
Fefe Jules says that we are really learning lessons of patience. And when I read that, there's patience in waiting for all of this to surmount to something where we want to go, right? But there's also patience in waiting for people to awaken to it, to become open, for their eyes to drop the veil and might say the energetic cataracts that are blinding them from seeing what's really happening. And that is a really important, how would you say that? A really important lesson to learn for ourselves in not only waiting for someone to be ready to hear what we have to say, but looking at the energy.
Also be willing to be open to training that person when they're ready to.
Mm-hmm. Because just in the beginning, I said, no, you did perfect. You were watching the energy of the people, and you could feel when the energy had an invite. And it's been whispered to me for some time now, follow the energies. And boy, does that go deep when you really think about what that means.
Yeah, it's interesting to see everyone that comes to my booth is at a different level, and it's so clear. If some of them that are the most that are the most fertile ground to receive new information, they come in and you can tell that they're kind of inquisitive. They're a little bit confused, but they're looking for more, and they'll pull up one flyer and then the next, and then I just let them observe, and I'm hoping they don't see the name of Mr. T and get triggered and run out. But they don't usually make it actually into the booth before that happens. And so, I think a lot of people over the past 2 years have started questioning the medical side of things, right? And so we had the Healing Web Tapestry big at this expo. And we had it actually facing the main entrance where people walk in. And so it was kind of half covered by a garment rack on one side. We had another one on the opposite side. But this was like in people's faces. And this poster was actually the main thing that was eye level as you walked up to the booth as well. And so, people have really been given an opportunity to question big pharma, right? Over the past few years, like there has been ample evidence and news articles coming forward that should at least have given people pause to say, maybe some of these big multinational corporations are like more in this for the profit than for the people. And so they've been given that opportunity to question beliefs that they've been raised with and that, have been reinforced by people in white coats that have always been figures of authority, and, possibly even family members who are part of that industry, or even if they're part of that industry. And so, once they have that seed of doubt, that seed of questioning of this giant megalithic system that has so much money and power, and that people like us know is pretty much evil at its core, even though there are good people in it. But, the basic tenet of treating the symptom versus treating the cause, and getting people on these lifelong treatment plans that, one treatment leads to another treatment. There's a fundamental problem with that system. And so I think when people see this diagram and like the dichotomy between the big pharma versus holistic medicine, there may be a lot of stuff on this right side that they haven't really explored yet. They may have definitely heard of some of these supplements and whatnot, but when they see the whole spectrum of this, and I have actually just recently added Asea to it, on the flyer version, I think Asea is in between electric medicine and oxygen therapy, and then on the poster it's actually in the H2O water section over here as primarily a cosmetic remedy, which it has so many different functionalities. But I just want to mention that Asea is actually on there now on the new versions, which I'm actually printing new posters of that currently in California. They're shipping to me 500 more, and then we are also making 500 more of these laminations, which we ran out of. So yeah, awesome. I think, I could do a whole booth on just the healing web. And so when I do all my diagrams, it's very overwhelming to a lot of people. But if we were to do maybe like a holistic expo at some point, we could really focus on this. And I think that would be a great opportunity to educate people on specifically the health and healing and all the different holistic modalities that are out there, and always discovering more. I just discovered that Asea in the past month or two. And, there's more and more of these electric medicine remedies coming on the market all the time. And so, yeah, this one has actually been going super viral recently. We've had some free promotion from an account called Come Out Better on Instagram, who is a Kangen distributor. And he's just very passionate about my diagrams. And so he's been doing his own explanation videos of that. And we got flooded with customers buying out all our laminations, all our posters. That's awesome. It actually kind of came at an inopportune time, because our distributor of posters recently decided they won't ship our posters anymore. They won't, because of the size. They're not shipping big items bigger than 18 by 18 anymore. So we're kind of transitioning between possibly shipping posters ourselves here from my headquarters, or looking into another distributor. But it's kind of been a little bit of a headache trying to figure that out. And last week I was definitely overwhelmed. I had to ship 33 posters myself, which was a lot of poster rolling. But I'm really glad it's breaking out. We've produced around 1,000 of those posters in total already. And so considering there's 300 million people in America supposedly, and 6 billion in the world, I'd say a lot more of those need to get out to people as reference tools. And there's actually Pleiadian healing energy embedded in the healing web diagram itself. So even just looking at this is intended to have like a sigil magic healing effect. And so it's a great resource, and I'm really glad that it's getting out to a wider distribution recently.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
I'm so happy for you, Dylan.
Well, thanks. Please pray for me to find a good distribution center.
Well, when one thing leaves, another thing must come in to fill its place, and it's usually always better. So,
True that.
Indeed.
So this one does not have the Asea on it, then?
No, not yet.
No, I just added that last week. Yeah, we're producing them now.
Okay.
I hadn't heard of it before. I mean, I'm actually surprised that Asea has been around for 13 years now, and that I hadn't heard of it. But I think that this word of mouth marketing campaign is a little less speedy than having it in every Whole Foods all at once, like many other supplements are distributed, and certainly no TV ads like Big Pharma enjoys.
Well, Big Pharma did try to buy the Asea out so they can kind of hide it, like what they usually do for things, and then try and change up the molecular structure of it. Oh
Well,
my
yeah,
goodness.
Asea ties right into like oxygen therapy, which I had been a big researcher and avid fan of for a long time. I had read a book called Flood Your Body with Oxygen that is considered like the oxygen therapy Bible a long time ago. It was one of my first forays into holistic medicine. And, between like hydrogen peroxide, there's a lot of different ozone therapies that are really beneficial, hyperbaric oxygen, any type of negative ions. All of these things are really good. And so, like, ASEA really fits right in that category of things with, supercharging saline to create all these different reactive species of oxygen and chlorine that are very beneficial to all of our health in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, there was a machine that people were put in that actually flooded the body with oxygen, which brought a lot of
Healing.
healing to the body. It even killed a lot of the big C at one point, and then suddenly it just disappeared off the market. It's like,
Yeah.
Well, some of them are becoming more available. Like one that I've been aware of, it's a type of ozone therapy called RHP, which is intravenous ozone, which a lot of people might sound really scary to have a gas go into your veins, but when it is pure oxygen that's been turned into ozone, it's nothing but beneficial. It's not like putting regular air in your veins, which that's what the nitrogen in the air of what kills you if that happens, called an embolism. But when it's pure oxygen, it's actually very beneficial. And I've been discovering that a lot more clinics across the country are offering ozone therapy IV and this type of ozone therapy called RHP, which you have an IV in both arms, and it's basically a kind of like a dialysis, and it filters your blood through ozone and then puts it back in your body. And that's supposedly like the holy grail of oxygen therapy. It's like super powerful. It can erase lifelong viral infections as well as the big C. I'm not sure exactly how many treatments that would take, and I can't confirm that that's 100% what it does in every case. It probably depends on, the clinic, if it's done properly, and, the general health of the patient. But there's just so much out there, and even more electric medicines that are coming online and becoming more available as well. I think a lot of there's an increased interest in holistic medicine and more things becoming available. Maybe even some of the roadblocks and big pharma impediments have been removed, is what it seems like, and that there's more of these. It seems like a lot of chiropractic clinics that are beginning to offer a wider variety of electric treatments and oxygen treatments. And so that's really great to see. And hopefully we see even more of that, and even more remedies maybe that I haven't even heard of start coming available in the market.
yeah. Oh, we just bought tons of hydrogen peroxide, so we're going to be like putting that all over our bodies, and that also helps with putting oxygen in your bloodstream too.
And I probably a couple months now, I've been using hydrogen peroxide and a combination of toothpaste to brush my teeth.
Oh,
yeah.
And then
that sounds like it would work.
Didn't your
then we found a holistic dentist, and she said, start using hydrogen peroxide as your toothpaste. And I went, oh. So I'm always shown these steps to make for health, and then given confirmation by someone like that who's done study.
And what most people don't know also about hydrogen peroxide is that you can buy what's called food grade hydrogen peroxide, which is safe to drink at a certain concentration. Now, I've actually drinking it in too high a concentration. It kind of like irritated my teeth like a little bit. So you want to be really careful with the concentration. But yeah, definitely not to drink the hydrogen peroxide from CVS or Walgreens, because that's not considered food grade. And I couldn't tell you exactly what the difference is. I guess it's kind of similar to the way the alcohol you buy at CVS is denatured, and you can drink like moonshine or Stolichnaya, but it's not the same thing as the alcohol from CVS. But yeah, there is the CVS hydrogen peroxide, which is great for treating wounds, and maybe even that would be good for brushing your teeth. But then the food grade stuff you can actually ingest, and it's like almost like an antibiotic, but it's the type of antibiotic that will never develop resistance because it's a pure oxygen therapy.
That's very true.
Yeah, I had, just to show what he was talking about, before we moved out here, I had a bottle of food grade hydrogen peroxide, and I had it for a couple of years. And I noticed that it had eaten through the plastic, so I had to get rid of it. And when I was carrying it out, something happened. It kind of exploded and got all over my arm, and it just started to eat my skin. And I ran inside because it felt like acid on my skin, and I had to wash it off and then treat it. So really take to heart what he just said about making sure it's diluted, because that is powerful stuff.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the last thing I'll say about the Healing Web is that one of my prospective future projects is actually to recreate this, but have it be only the holistic side. So kind of like that. But even adding more, rearranging it in a way and adding all the stuff that I couldn't fit in, like all the different supplements that I couldn't fit in, because there's just so much to explore there. And I think that people would really benefit from having a purely holistic map to really navigate their way to find all the different things that are available. Because, for specifically big C treatments, there's just so many out there, and it can be really overwhelming to try to decide which one to focus on. And I think, I'll say there's probably some scammy ones out there too, and so you do have to be careful. But again, the one thing I found with that diagram, everything leads back to diet. And so, looking at your ingredient labels, avoiding sugar, avoiding those diet drinks. Like I've been feeling really the past week that like if I were president, the first thing I would do would be ban Coke and Pepsi, because I was those two companies. It's like, and we just saw Elon Musk post this tweet yesterday of his bedside table, which had like 4 of those caffeine-free Diet Cokes. I'm just like, oh my God, like, is this what he's drinking like in bed? Yeah, it's just that's total scam, and I don't even think it helps people lose weight. Like the diet beverages like that, I think it's somehow like inorganic matter that's like sticks inside your system, and so yeah, you're better off just drinking. Like I drink a lot of water mixed with cranberry juice or lemon juice, because I do get sugar cravings, and that's how I address those, is with lemon juice and cranberry juice mixed with water, which isn't awesome. Maybe quite as fun. But when I drink bubbly stuff now, it really messes up my stomach, and I start like burping uncontrollably. So I mean, everybody's different. But I'm pretty sure that Coca-Cola and Pepsi products are not good for anyone. So I really wish we could move into New Earth and just leave those two companies, expose them first, for what they are, and maybe even put the founders, if they're still alive, or the current owners in some kind of tribunal to make a demonstration of how much damage they've done to society, and then we can talk about McDonald's later.
What do you think about after doing all of that, just revamping the company to start creating something healthy, even maybe changing the name?
Well, I think for something like McDonald's in particular, I've always wished for years that we had healthier fast food options, because the idea of needing a meal and going through a drive-through is so convenient, and I miss that convenience, which I haven't been taken advantage of in several years, decades actually. But yeah, I think a company like that, it would be great to substitute the content of the food. We have all these drive-throughs already built. Like the concept of a drive-through is I think beneficial to society, especially for people that work and don't have time to prepare their own meals. But if they could be getting something more healthy and beneficial from that, that would be ideal. But for Coke and Pepsi, I don't know. I think they just gotta go.
Yeah, I think so too, because as soon as I found out, which was many years ago, that Coca-Cola can be used to clean your toilets, I never drink it ever again.
Yeah, cut it out. There's a lot of other. I mean, there's so many other beverages out there, even that are more healthy, like the kombucha and like stevia drinks, like that brand Zevia. Like I don't fully trust stevia, but that brand Zevia that has all like the Coke substitute flavors, I think that's like a good sort of like transitionary substitute.
That's a good way to explain it. Transitionary substitute. Yeah. So you're transitioning your body into not even going that direction at some point, and just what the earth has provided.
Mm-hmm. We make our own stevia liquid. So we take the stevia powder, then we mix it with alcohol, which then becomes a natural, you could say, stevia sweetener. So
There you go.
it's pretty amazing. Since stevia is made from a plant, right?
It is. We get the one that's a little more processed because it comes white. Plants aren't white.
No, they're not white.
So I'm not sure how they process that, but should I say it's a good transitional?
It is, stevia, agave nectar, monk fruit, even erythritol, which I'm still a little bit confused about exactly what that is. But all of those are way better substitutes than aspartame and Splenda.
I remember when Splenda first came out, and I heard that it was made from real sugar. I bought so much of that stuff and used it all the time, and then found out that that was a big lie. Wow. And the different bales that have dropped out of my life, showing me that how many times we've been lied to about one thing or another is just crazy when you think about it. Crazy. We were watching, was it Doctor Who?
Mm-hmm.
And there was a comment on there, and it said, everything, you will be amazed when you find out that everything, not just some of it, everything that you have learned has all been one big lie. And I went, okay, that's a huge calm right there.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope that as truthers in 2022, we're starting to get closer to the truth and, products and sweeteners that are actually healthy. But I'm always open to discarding my current beliefs. I wouldn't even call my current beliefs, my current understandings, and replacing them with where the evidence directs me. Because there's so much deception, and even maybe within what we think is the truth movement, there could be some deceptions. And so we always have to be open to learning more and open to, new ideas replacing the old ones. I think that's how we evolve. And as we become, from 3D to 4D to 5D, there may be a whole other set of rules in the 4D, and everything we learned in the 3D is like, whoop, out the window. And then we get to the 4D, we think everything's great. And then we realize there's darkness in the 4D, and, there's deception maybe too. And I think as you get higher, there's maybe less of that. But, something I talked about in my speech at Victory of Light was the idea of ascension and through different dimensions, and that, beings like us three at least, we're definitely trying to move up dimensions, ascend. But at the same time, there are beings that we interact with on a daily basis that may actually be on a downward trajectory. They're essentially evolving back down into ultimately insects and rocks in this karmic cycle. And, there's a place for them in the universal, I called it like a grand escalator of beings going up and down, like in a mall. And I would say hopefully more people are headed in the upward direction, but there's always going to be these beings that decide to go back downward. And so we have to hold space for them, but also at every stage of this process, be aware that, people that you interact with may be headed in that downward direction, and not to let them, if you're intended on going up, not to let them, stick onto you and bring you down with them.
But standing there in full acceptance of what they choose too. Yeah, I hear you saying that.
Yeah, I've learned already that there is that egoic, lower vibrational energy up there in the higher dimensions, because it's all been hidden in the rule of gravity. What goes up must come down, right? How it is up, so it is down. How it is down, so it is up. So what's down here is still going to be up there, just in a different dimensional frequency. So yes, it most definitely will have a higher, you could say a higher
Knowledge? More knowledge?
a higher knowledge of, no, more of a higher frequency of less ego, but it still has a little bit of ego up there. Think
I
Star
would
Wars,
say,
Star Trek.
I would say that there is a need for discernment at all levels, no matter what D you're on. Even if you're on, 7D, there's always going to be that need for observation and discernment, and not just full open trust. And the craziest thing is that from the normie perspective of today in America and across most of the world, is that they have been in this complete, oh, everything's fine, we trust everything, like we don't need to discern what's coming out of the TV, what's coming out of the government. And it's just been this just wide open acceptance, and that has led so many people astray. And so the whole process of ascension is raising your own discernment, and identifying in the world and in your life the things that are not assisting in that ascension, and systematically, eliminating them, eliminating the low vibe stuff out of your life, which will pave the way to a lightness of being and ascension of your own conscious awareness.
Building up your conscious awareness is what's needed at this moment. And the discernment.
So Inner Peace says there's only one sugar that is good, and that is honey. B is at heart frequency 560. They are high vibration. Any type of sugar was inserted like a drug. Bad. Inner Peace, do you feel that coconut sugar, maple syrup are also on the bad list? I would love to hear what you think about that. What's your thoughts on that, Dylan?
I would say honey is definitely one of the good ones. I went through a phase where I was taking like a teaspoon of honey after meals when I would need like a sugar fix instead of a dessert. But I even kind of transitioned away from that just because I wasn't sure anything that's concentrated as like a sugar. I'm not sure if it's like rotting my teeth or not. But I think that in limited doses, these natural ones like stevia, monk fruit, are definitely not as bad. Like I wouldn't want to consume them every day as sugar substitutes, because they can become like kind of addictive, and then you're addicted to sugar. But even I think the best substitute, or the best sugar fix, is just pure fruit. That's what I try to rely on the most, is just organic grapes, organic strawberries. For me, that's what I found is the most trustworthy. The least processed is straight from nature. It's like almost amazing how we have these fruits, this like God's little desserts that he made for us. And so I think that's probably the safest bet. Honey's definitely beneficial. And then, those other sugar substitutes, I would say exercise a little bit of caution, and maybe to the individual. That there's certain people that monk fruit or stevia may cause more of a allergic reaction, but for other people it doesn't. And so that's might be more of an individual thing. But I would say that that person's comment may be what she has found for her body. But I wouldn't say that that's necessarily universal, that honey's the only good sweetener.
So I learned some Indonesian dishes from my mother-in-law, and the like this Thanksgiving, we did a whole thing of Indonesia dishes,
Wow.
and some of the one of the soy sauces that are used in many of the dishes is a very thick soy sauce with sugar in it. So it's a sweet soy sauce instead of a salty. And so what I've learned to do is to take an organic soy sauce and add coconut sugar and maple syrup, and then use that. And that is a great substitute for instead of using the one with sugar.
Yeah, I love Thai and Indian food, but sometimes I try to avoid it because I'm not sure exactly what's in the sauces. And so if you know how to make the sauces yourself, that's a great opportunity to make a substitute like that, where you're using a sweetener that you know is natural. But I have a fear that at these Indian restaurants that they're probably using like canola oil and palm fruit oil or whatever. And so I love that food, but I have to limit it. And you know what? If you really love a certain dish or a certain type of ethnic food, it's not going to kill you to have it once in a while. But I would try to not have it, like every day, or maybe not even like once a week, if you know, or if you highly suspect that this restaurant is not an organic restaurant and not using good oils or good ingredients. And I've noticed. So we actually had an Indian Thanksgiving like on Saturday, 2 days after our real Thanksgiving, and it kind of upset my stomach, but it was so good going down that you just have to
Right?
be
Oh,
But one of my other favorite things to do is after we've had Indian is to make organic chicken, and then with the leftovers, like add in extra organic chicken. And so I get like the flavor I like from the sauces, but I know that I'm eating good quality protein with it.
organic chicken. I love organic chicken.
I love soup. Boy, we just got onto a foodie subject, didn't we?
We did.
Hey, well, we were going to talk about spiritual healing, and this is all related to the healing web. And, we got definitely on a sugar substitute, but that's important. It's one of the most important things. And, seeing Elon post all these Diet Cokes, I'm just like, we got to get we got to get people aware of how bad some of these big mainstream popular companies are. These Fortune 500 big food companies, big food and big agra are really the ones responsible for a lot of the medical problems that everyone has today, along with chemical pollution and contamination. But big food and big agra hold a lot of the responsibility, and I really wish we could see more regulation in that area. Unfortunately, even the maestro himself was like promoting McDonald's while he was in there, and I would like to see a very health conscious president that could really crack down on those industries, and an FDA that actually did their job, and instead of just had like a revolving door between industry and government to, cut deals with these producers of, very toxic food products, to actually regulate them and say, get a little bit stricter, say certain things are going to be illegal in this country. Because like if you look at, I'm sure people have maybe seen, if you look at, just as an example, say the ingredients of Lucky Charms in America versus Lucky Charms in Europe. In Europe, they're not allowed to use red 40 anymore, and they're not allowed to use all those artificial food colorings and several other chemicals and preservatives in foods in America that they're not allowed to use in Europe. If you look at a lot of different European foods on the ingredient labels, they just look so much more simpler. There's not all like the long words that nobody can pronounce, that nobody even really knows what they are. And that's how it should be in America. There's no reason why something should be considered toxic and unsafe and illegal in Europe, whereas in America, it's the opposite. Like that doesn't make any sense other than that our government is failing their mandate of regulating the food industry.
Well, spiritual healing also comes with what you put into your body too. So even us going into this food and this sugar is also teaching people what is good and what is not good to be putting into your body that brings that spiritual healing. Because if you think about it, when you make something, you're putting your intention into it. So while you're making something, you put your intention, your love, your vibration, and that's what allows the awakening process to happen within yourself too.
Is it possible that promoting the Maestro promoting the McDonald's and Elon promoting the Coke is saying, hey, look at this, because there's some information going to be released and coming down the pike for you to know about this. So could it be that they're saying this is next on the chopping block?
Maybe.
Along with the sink and let that sink in.
You know, I think based on the Maestro and Elon himself, I think that these people may actually use some of these products themselves. You know, Eric Trump actually posted a picture of him and his wife in their bathing suits over Thanksgiving, and man, he was shredded. And I was like, hey, if we want to have a real health conscious president, maybe Eric Trump's next on the list. Because, and I actually just saw Eric Trump on X22 report, which I was like, wow. The fact that, you know, Trump sons are doing interviews with X22, that's a confirmation of the, you know, 17th letter in a big way. And they didn't talk about anything on that subject. You know, it was a very like generic political conversation. But just to see Trump's family involved with truther accounts at that level, I think X22 is probably like the main outlet for like the announcer of this whole movement in the alt media. And so, I mean, I know that Eric has been on Clay Clark's Reawakening tour, and that's obviously, you know, very much of a truther mindset in the lineup there and in the content. But to see, it's just more and more confirmations that the Trump family is definitely involved with this truther movement in some way, and in a very direct way, I think, ultimately. And so it's really looking like all green lights ahead, that, you know, we are going through this rocky period of this sort of demonstration of how bad things really were. And it may in some ways seem like the demonstration is going a little bit too far in terms of actual damage being done to the country. And, you know, damage and difficult situations people being put in terms of price, gas price, living conditions. But I do think that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and that speech last Tuesday or 2 Tuesdays ago, the 15th, really was confirmation of that light at the end of the tunnel as well. And, you know, the Maestro is not known to put out radically filled campaign promises. You know, he was very good about fulfilling these campaign promises of the first time around. And, you know, we'll see. I mean, if he doesn't even get in, if they pull a little DeSantis switcheroo, we might have another plan in store. But, you know, we are definitely on this spiritual ascension path, and it's going to be ultimately our responsibility to begin creating a new earth that's separate from all these cabal systems that have been sort of imposed on us. And, you know, when we see what's happening in China right now with the insane level of lockdown and totalitarianism, I think everyone in America can agree that that is not what we want. Even if you are a full-on, you know, purple hair JB supporter, nobody wants what's going on in China right now. And so in a way, what's going on in China is actually a beautiful demonstration of, you know, us seeing, showing them. You can't tell them, you have to show them. We're seeing it in China right now. So if that's not what we want, we got to all consciously put our foot down and choose a different direction. And I think that that's very much in the process of happening.
Totally agree.
Yeah, it's very exciting. Let's see. Let's see if I.
What? I'm very excited for what's really going to be happening in the next like month or two. Because with everything that's been going on, everything that's been being shown, it's going to pop, and it's going to pop big, from what I'm seeing and hearing. So I'm very excited.
I was feeling that, and the 15th announcement was a big kind of event horizon that was impossible for anyone to see past it because nobody really knew what he was going to say. And now that we got past that, we kind of had Thanksgiving, which is almost like a week-long vacation for everyone. And so nothing really happens that week. And now this week, I was expecting maybe things to start hitting the fan even starting Monday. But so far this week, the news seems pretty quiet. But we're definitely in this window of anything could happen, something radically shifting the course of world events. But at the same time, we are seeing more and more of this public exposure of different elements of the old system being corrupt. There was recently this thing in the past week of, if you're familiar with the brand Balenciaga, they had some major controversy in terms of people looking at their ad campaigns and seeing hints of, we want to be careful with our words here, but abuse of young ones, let's say it like that. Mm-hmm. And, this is like the number one brand in fashion.
Wow.
Which is the industry I used to be a part of. And so the way this came about, they're trying to escape culpability and they're trying to blame the production company on producing these ads, which was a company called North Six. And I think ultimately it may have been like the stylist of this photo shoot that was responsible. My experience from the fashion industry is that stylists are actually somewhat of like the gatekeepers, and it's like the cabal henchmen that oversee different brands and tailor the messaging that they're putting out to the public to be in line with what the cabal wants for the industry. And so a lot of people don't even like think about stylists that way, but from my insider experience, it always seemed like the stylist was almost like higher than the head designer. And it seemed very odd to me, that like we're putting on a fashion show, like shouldn't this all be like the head designer's decision? But then he brings in this stylist and like she has like the ultimate say in everything and like is telling him like, oh, like throw out all these designs, put all these in. And it's just like, what? Like you didn't even design this collection. But yeah, stylists have a lot of power. And people have just recently discovered that this stylist that Balenciaga has been using since the new creative director came in had some very disturbing pictures on her Instagram page. And so it's clear that, I've been trying to tell people on my Telegram that, this is not just one fashion house. This is not just one stylist. This is the industry, and the most powerful people in the industry, their influence just trickles down, 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 down. Like everyone knows about Anna Wintour and how much power Vogue has. And she actually Vogue picked out the stylist we were using when I was working in fashion. I won't say the exact company, but it's like the tastemakers at the top influence all the way down. And it's a systemic problem in the fashion houses, maybe less in like the design realm, but in the big corporate fashion houses, it's definitely some cabal. And in fashion magazines, in modeling agencies. And just to expand that from the fashion industry to the whole Fortune 500, all these big companies, we already talked about big food, big agra, but the cabal is very big and vast. And it's not just like one company where there's a problem. It's a lot. And, if you're part of these companies or working with them, it's definitely good that we have people awakening in these companies. And, maybe you can become a whistleblower to an extent, and
insider.
just be eyes on the inside. Don't necessarily just say, "Oh, my company is cabal, and I'm going to quit immediately." Like, it'd be actually more beneficial to be eyes on the inside and keep track of these things, maybe document some things so that eventually you can be kind of like a whistleblower. But I'd say in general, for people like me, like having realized what I've realized over the years, like I really do try to invest with my dollars and not support those big Fortune 500 companies as much, to the extent that you can. I mean, I still order from Amazon from time to time. Well, actually, quite a bit. But that's more like a conglomerate company at this point. It's just like a digital marketplace, and I'm hoping that becomes nationalized eventually. But yeah, it is a vast problem across multiple industries. But it's in the process of being exposed, and this thing with Balenciaga in the past week has really brought a lot of attention to it. And it has roped in like Kim Kardashian, and it's like there's celebrities being pulled into this black hole of being defamed by this. I'm trying not to use the P word, but the corruption being exposed publicly. And there's going to be more events like this coming. And so expect more truth, expect us truthers and the people who were advocating about pizza, I'll say, gate. When that everyone said, "Oh, that's just a conspiracy," that had a lot more to it than a lot of people know. And it's going to be part of the spiritual healing, to become aware of these things and integrate them and understand that, there has been a lot more darkness in society than we would like to believe. And that, it hasn't just been like a fringe group that's been doing this. It's been at the highest levels and infiltrates so many different industries. And so we've got a lot of cleanup and aisle earth, big time.
Yeah. That is so true. So very true. Clean up in our earth.
Right?
Oh, I like that.
It really goes deep, and it's vast.
Yeah, we have to stop being so narrow-sighted and start seeing things in many different avenues, many different ways, because everything is connected to everything. Just like your map. Everything is connected to everything, no matter where it is. It could be on this side of the map, but it's still connected to this side of the map, so it doesn't really matter. It's all connected in some way.
So what I was going to share, so there's an article, and it says, the choo-choo, right? There's a boom over Black Friday. Almost 200,000 people ordered those. And so I was thinking about that, and it's like, 200,000 more people are getting ready to stand up. And that was exciting.
Choo-choo.
Right?
I think I know what you're talking about. I'm not
Why
quite.
not just say hand bang bang?
Okay, so that was a big Black Friday purchase.
Yeah. The exact number is 192,749.
Wow. I got all stocked up on that stuff after Joe got into office. And so I'm all stocked up. I don't need any more of that. I mean, I don't even think I'll ever need to use it. But just, once he got into office, I was like, I want to be prepared for the worst. And it's always best, prepare for the worst and hope for the best.
Yeah. Yeah, we like to go to the ranges and practice our little choo-choos.
That's
So
a
we can
very
stay
nice
sharp.
way to say it. Well, I have two little pachuchus that I have never even practiced with before, so I maybe should brush up a little bit. But I don't think that it's going to come to that in any sense in this country. But hey, it's always, like I said, it's always good to be prepared. I'm all about the Second Amendment.
Yep. Same here.
Yeah.
but it may, it may be even more detrimental to the powers that be to use our minds and our keyboards and use the information warfare would be even more effective, even more effective on a wide scale, because if you use the pa-choo-choo-choo wrong, you're just going to end up in jail and hurting someone. But if you use the information warfare, you could affect a lot more people. And if you do something wrong, there won't be as many consequences. You issue a retraction,
Knowledge
which I
is
don't,
power.
which I don't even usually have to do. But in the case, there's not as many consequences to a misfire in the information war.
It's very true. Knowledge is power, and that's what we need to use at this moment. It's the knowledge that we have gained, the knowledge that we have, and just use that.
I wanted to switch gears for a moment and just circle back or
Oh God.
to your event, your healing event. How did your light language go? Was it well received?
Well, it was well received. I was a little bit thrown off with the whole speech because they changed my time the day of. Fortunately, they moved me an hour later, so anyone who had gone to the room at 2, or actually at 3, would have seen that I had been moved to 4. So that threw me off a little bit, and it wasn't in, like last time, room 7 was at the bottom of the stairs on the far left, and this time room 7 was all the way on the far right in a much smaller room. And so it's just, there was a few things that were kind of like not working in my favor, throwing me off a little bit. But I managed to kind of like tune all that out. And, the people that were there were meant to be there. And it was a good group. And I did the presentation. Actually, I could have gone a lot longer because it ended up being shorter than I sort of anticipated. But, that was fine too. It was the length that needed to be for my first demonstration of that nature. And I had been getting downloads about what to say in that presentation for literally 6 months. And I had gotten all these little bits here and little bits there, and I had kind of compiled them all together. And so, I just went through all of that and did my light language demonstrations. It was very well received. And then we took some questions afterwards. And I recorded the whole thing and put it on my YouTube, which actually putting it on my Rumble was what I was probably most scared of by the end of all of it. Because, back 6 months ago, I was pretty nervous to even do it at the Expo, but I had anticipated it so much, and I knew my friends were going to be accepting, and even you having given me the opportunity to practice in your guys' Sunday call was also very confidence building, and so it went well. But then I was actually very nervous to post it to my Rumble because my Rumble is used to current event analysis, and, they had never seen me sing or dance or do light language before. And so I was like, okay, we'll see how this goes. And I have gotten, I'll say a few, let's call them confused comments, which, I read these comments, and, initially, your brain wants to just be like, start an argument. But I managed to hold back, that attitude and, wait almost like 24 hours and then answer them like very respectfully, explaining exactly what I'm doing and explaining other things like, that this was a channeled message from Ashtar Command. This wasn't Dylan Lewis Monroe going off on a rant. And both of those comments that were a little bit negative actually replied to my comment being like, thank you for explaining it. That makes more sense to me now. And so we was really able to educate and diffuse any negativity or hostility that was coming through the comments. And I think, I'm glad it's up there, and it's got 1,000 views and racking up more currently. And so I think that there was some serious light codes in that transmission and in that video. And so I highly recommend people to go head over to New Templars on Rumble and watch the most recent video, which is, I forget the actual title of it, but like light language and mind lock demonstration. So it went well, and I definitely want to do more of it. And some of the positive comments have been asking me to do more of the light language on my channel, which I think we definitely will.
Wow.
Awesome.
That is freaking awesome. Where can they find your Rumble channel? Is that in the description?
No, because I
Okay.
haven't gotten any of his.
Well, I have a link tree, which it's on there, and it's New Templars on Rumble or Deep State Mapping Project on Rumble, which I haven't posted that particular video to Deep State Mapping Project yet, but it will be because the idea is for Deep State Mapping Project channel to have all my Expo presentations and map explanations, and for New Templars to have current events and interviews. But then, of course, since New Templars has a lot more subscribers, I end up sharing basically everything on New Templars and then the DSMP specific stuff on DSMP.
Awesome. You're looking for it?
And have you guys continued your Sunday meditations and light language sessions?
We are having our last class next Sunday. Are you going to be able to make it?
Probably, yeah.
Good.
I would love to make it. I've really enjoyed those, and encourage anyone listening, if they can join, to join those, because they've been they've been very intimate. But I'm not sure. Are those open to anyone that wants to join, or?
No, there's a qualification, and if they contact the link for your Asea and just put select the contact me and make sure they put their phone number, then someone will call them and they can ask about the Sunday classes, and they'll get all the information then.
Okay, yeah. Those have been really powerful. I gotta say, some of the most powerful Zoom meditations I've ever experienced. So, doing well with those.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Thank
and we
you.
have it all recorded too, so now you can like post that in places as well. It's just the voice recording.
Very cool.
So it's really nice.
So basically, the qualification is what we want is for you to invest in your own healing.
Invest in yourself.
Yes, and so when you do that, that just excites us because we all need to ascend. We all need to heal. We all need to start feeling better every single day. That makes a difference.
Usually, those that are willing to invest in themselves are the ones that we want to mainly focus upon, because when we focus upon those that don't want to invest in themselves, they tend to come into our classes and go like, yeah, I already know that shit. And that's what brings our energies down, is because you're telling us, yeah, we already know, so why are you coming to us for help if you don't need help? So, if you're not willing to, help yourself, invest in yourself, well, then we don't want to help you.
Oh,
Until you are ready to invest in yourself.
right. So the desire is there. But that's, there have been several sessions that I nearly got up and just walked out of, because the person's energy was so, how would you say it, like argumentative, and I want to tell you what I know, and it's kind of like going to a doctor and telling the doctor what, how would you word that? Let's use the dentist instead. So it's kind of like going to a dentist and telling the dentist how they need to fix your tooth.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the dentist will take the x-rays and they'll do what needs to be done and get you better. And that's I'm using that very lightly because we all know that they have been part of and not really bringing health to us either. But just an example. And there is no. Do you remember seeing a scene where someone wants to learn from the master who knows taekwondo or some sort of thing, and he says, "I can't help you because your cup is already full."
Mm.
Too many mind.
Yeah. And so a person has to come with an empty cup and a desire to want to learn. And it doesn't mean that there isn't reciprocal. How do you say that? Reciprocatory? You know, because the teacher is also the student. Aren't we?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely got a lot out of those sessions that I attended with you guys. And, you know, even if it wasn't like earth-shattering, like new necessarily information, it's always good to even just take a break from your regular life and tap in and have a spiritual reminder of like go back to a baseline. And you know, there's so much spiritual advice that becomes almost like a mantra. You know, it's not always something that's completely new and like you've never heard anything like it before, but it's a mantra that's reminding you over and over again of how to be on the right path and how to be in the right mindset. And that's very important. You know, it can be like my favorite Pleiadian book, Barbara Marcinike's Teaching of the Pleiadians, that first got me into Pleiadians. By the end of that book, you're like, oh my gosh, she said the same thing like literally 1,000 times. But that's the thing, is it becomes like a mantra, the repetition and the patience and the repetition. And that's where you get the most benefit from the information and the healing embedded within the information.
It's true. So
and I've also found that the way you guys have put things together and presented things has been very unique as well. So it's not complete, you know, review or mantra repetition, but it's been very innovative as well, I'll say.
Oh, that's pretty cool to hear that.
Yeah.
Oh.
So you know how your light language is the way it is and her light language is the way it is? My light language is all about information. The information of the mind, the body, and the spirit. So when it comes out of my mouth, it comes out as words of people that can understand what those words are. So that's my type of light language when my stars channel through me. So it doesn't really compute with the brain, but more of it rewrites different pathways. And it helps to open up it helps you to open up in a whole different way, you could say.
I have found that, yeah, I definitely can see that you've been channeling, you know, very specific information and sort of like lessons that have been a nice complement to Candy's foreign language, light language.
That is so funny. Shalaka laka laka laka.
That's my
Well, actually, when I did my presentation, you know, it's every time I record a presentation that's a public presentation, I'm always a little bit disappointed with the results that the audio is not quite perfect and there's people sniffing and coughing and doors opening and closing and not in this case, but in other cases, dogs barking. But actually, I recorded some of my light language in the 3-minute meditation from the meditation chamber and even added like a reverb on it in iMovie. And that turned out really good. So I want to do some more experiments with actually using this mic and, you know, in more of like a studio environment with my light language and see how that turns out. Because the reverb like took it to the next level.
Right? Oh, I can totally imagine. I'd love
Right?
to hear that.
Well, I am going to post a video of the 3-minute meditation. I'm trying to figure out what kind of visuals I want to add to it. for the Rumble version, but that's definitely going to be posted. It's basically like I made an MP3 track that was playing on headphones for people.
Oh, neat.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we should do something like that too. Maybe you can help give me some ideas on.
Yeah, I'll send it to you when it's posted, and maybe it can inspire you to make your own MP3. Like I made this, it was the first time I kind of made like an MP3 track that's like a kind of like an audio meditation track. I mean, I had music in the background that I didn't create the music, but I made this track and I was like, I should make a whole CD. Like this is kind of good. It was like an ashtar meditation. It seemed pretty profesh. Yeah, I was kind of impressed with just iMovie. So, we all got the tools on our computers. They come with the software. So
Now we just have to learn how to tune the frequency to the right frequency that we want, like the 400 and something.
432 gigahertz and stuff.
mhm.
And when we could do that, things are just going to get even better. But that's a whole nother system that costs like another couple hundred.
I think that this is a really good place to draw a close on our live. What do you think?
Yeah, I think we've covered quite a bit.
We did.
Yeah.
The mind, the body, the spirit, the food, the sugar.
Before we go, is there anything that you'd like to share about the Asea, bringing the focus back to why the link is there for the Asea and pinned for you? You've been trying it for how long now?
I've kind of been on and off, but I'd say 4 weeks on and off.
Uh-huh. And have you noticed anything?
I was definitely noticing, more energy, clearer skin. I had one person at the expo say, "You have a glow, like you have this new glow to you. Like what's going on?" And I was like, "Well, people have been talking about the Asea glow." And so I attribute it, partially to that. And, there's great benefits of both the gel and the fluid that you drink. So I've been really glad I discovered it. And even though I have been on and off, like since I was sick for the past week, I went off it again just because I was, not feeling well and not sure what was better between that and the MMS for treating like a serious whatever I had. But I definitely am still learning about it, exploring it, and have had primarily a very positive view of it since I've been trying it. And so I definitely think that a lot of people would benefit from it in different ways, depending on what your particular condition or issue. Even if your issue is just feeling good and wanting to do performance enhancement, that's something I like to definitely emphasize to people, that if you don't have a specific issue, this is a performance enhancement supplement that Olympic athletes supposedly use. And I've even said before that it's such noticeable performance enhancement that it would almost seem to me like it would be unfair advantage to these Olympic athletes, but the Olympic committee has approved it. So it's definitely something that I think people should look into, and it could benefit a lot of people.
So we have this one cat. We got him from another home, and he has never played in all the time that we've had him. He comes up for pets, and he's always careful with his body. The previous owner had a dog that traumatized him, and so it may have even caused some parts of his body to hurt. I don't know, but we had a live with Debbie Wetzler, and she's been on Asea for over 10 years, and she suggested, why don't you just put out a little bowl of Asea for your animals? I'm like, that's a great idea. So about 4 days ago, I did that, and I've seen him go up and drink almost the whole thing. And my husband called me over to our closet. He says, look inside. And so I looked, and there he was playing with a little bell ball.
For the first time.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I said, have you ever seen him play before? He goes, no. I said, me either. That's like he's like, he's playing like a kitten. I said, I see that. So, it makes a huge difference. And I really thought that in the beginning of our live, and I didn't say anything, but I saw the glow on you. Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah.
You're shining bright like a diamond.
Well, I did just get back from a run too, but this cold the past week has kind of thrown me through a loop because I haven't had a cold in the past literally 3 years. But I'm finally back to feeling good again, and so gonna get back to experimenting with the superhuman supplements very soon here.
Amazing. If you guys are interested, please click the link in the description or the post that's pinned at top, and make sure your phone number's there, and select contact me, and someone will reach out to you and give you the information that you need. Okay.
All right.
Definitely. Well, thanks for having me on, guys. It's always a pleasure to hang with the High Vibe Soul fam.
Right?
And yeah.
And it's always a pleasure to have you with us. It's an honor to be able to, have you as part of the family, because it's just been truly amazing.
You're magical. We love you so much.
You guys are too. Love you both.
Bye, family.
Probably not going to want to hear this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Always go with the choice that scares you the most, because it's the choice that's going to help you grow.
Wow.
I can't do negative today. Positive vibes.
Hey, best friend. Wait. To the person seeing this, I know you're tired. I know you're fed up and so close to breaking. But remember, you have strength within you even when you feel weak. Keep fighting, best friend.